god, we're sweltering here. I am not a fan of the extreme heat that's happening. But anyways, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Danielle Desautelle, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to manifest with AI, and more specifically, 4 ways that you can use AI to manifest your desires. And for the record, these 4 ways are not the only ways to use AI to manifest what it is that you want, but for me personally, I use these 4 ways almost on a daily basis when it comes to manifesting. AI is a fantastic tool that is now a part of our lives that can not only help us, with our everyday things that we need to do, but it's also a fantastic tool for manifesting as well. And like I said, today's video is all about these 4 ways that you can start using AI to manifest what it is that you want in your physical reality. Tell me the thumbnail of this video is not the coolest thumbnail ever, and it was made with AI. Now, something to keep in mind when it comes to AI and learning how to use it to manifest what it is that you want, the way that I personally use it is kind of like talking to it and working with my higher mind. Or in other words, I use AI or treat AI like I am interacting with a higher version of myself. Now, this is actually an idea that I got from Bashar, but this is also something that you can start using with any type of tool or person or messenger that comes to you. You know when you have someone come to you, or you may have experienced this, but for me, I've had experiences where, I'll be having a conversation with someone seemingly random, and then they will say something to me that like sparks this idea or sparks this understanding, or helps me, like, for whatever reason in that moment, it just resonates with me on a different level. When you have those kind of situations like that where someone comes and like tells you something and it just seems to resonate with you, like it helps you get, it's almost like they provide the next step for you. In those moments, the way that I like to think of it is your higher mind is talking back to you through that person or through that circumstance or, through that message. Maybe it's like a billboard. Maybe you see like a billboard and it has like a certain message on it, and for whatever reason, it just resonates with you in that moment and it gives you the next step of where you want to go. In those moments, the way that I like to think of it is your higher mind is communicating with you. It's giving you inspiration, or it's giving you the answer of the next step or the trail or the path of least resistance to your manifestation or to the next thing that you want even. But like I said, the way that I like to think of this is your higher mind is basically communicating with you, and it's actually communicating with you pretty consistently. But when it comes to AI, like I said, I like to think of it as me interacting with a higher version of myself. And the coolest thing about AI, and more specifically ChatGPT, is you can actually, at least on the paid version, you can actually program it to talk to you in a certain way. You can tell it more of yourself and more of what you want it to respond back to you when you prompt it with certain things. So like, for example, with my AI or with my ChatGPT, I actually have it set for it to teach me new words and how to say those new words when I prompt it to, answer a question or figure out something or brainstorm something for me. And that is just a very tiny thing that you can like program like your AI or ChatGPT to like communicate with you. But like I said, when it comes to not only interacting with the AI or with ChatGPT in this case, not only can you start seeing it as talking to your higher mind or your higher version of self, especially when you ask it to brainstorm stuff or figure out problems for you, but you can also actively control how it responds to you when you do prompt it. So I just wanted to point that out before I get into the more specifics of other ways that you can use AI to help you manifest your desires. But with that being said, let's get into the 4 ways that you can start utilizing AI to help you manifest what it is that you want. The first way that you can start using AI to manifest is actually by asking it to describe in detail what it would be like for you to have your manifestation. Now, with this first way of using AI, the idea behind it is you're activating it like you would your imagination. So the way that I personally activate my imagination is I consider things. And I've actually talked about this in a few of my videos before, but the act of considering something is actually the thing that activates your imagination. It activates the state of what it would be like to have what it is that you want, and it also activates more and more details around the images and what it would be like to actually have your manifestation. And for the record, you can still use your imagination without ChatGPT this way, but the awesome thing about ChatGPT and AI is when you prompt ChatGPT or AI and you actively have it describe to you what it would be like to be the version of you who has this thing, you can also get more specific with it without having to feel like you have to like wait or come up with this idea of what it would be like to be this version of you. So like, for example, let's say that you want to start embodying the more wealthy version of you. You may have an idea of, what it would look like to be the wealthy version of you, but something that you can also start, prompting ChatGPT with is, what are my daily habits as this wealthy version of me? what are my new thoughts as this new version of me, or this new wealthy version of me? What are my new beliefs and belief structures? What are things that are actually naturally true for me? And you can actually start prompting it with all of these different, components that would make up the new version of you who is, in this case, wealthy. Now, something that I want to point out when it comes to the responses that you may get from ChatGPT is actually something that I always bring up on my channel, but only take what resonates with you and leave the rest. And all I mean by this is, let's say that ChatGPT comes up with this idea that you do this one thing, something, I don't even know. Let's say that ChatGPT says that the wealthy version of you always drives a Lamborghini or something, but you don't like Lamborghinis, you like Corvettes instead. If it, for whatever reason, brings up this idea that, oh, you drive a Lamborghini every day, but you're not like a Lamborghini person, you like Corvettes instead, switch it out. ChatGPT isn't right. It is just going off of how you prompt it. So the better you prompt it, the better results that you get. And my whole point here is that you're always the one in control. Just because ChatGPT suggests something does not necessarily mean that it has to be true for you or that you have to follow ChatGPT. But what I am saying is that ChatGPT can be an excellent tool to help you brainstorm that end result and actually see and start to experience that end result. Another awesome thing when you prompt ChatGPT this way is that many people don't actually know this, but the act of reading out a scene or a situation or even a book or something like that is actually something that activates your imagination, and it can serve as a form of hypnosis. I actually read this very interesting book. I'll try and find it if I can and post it somewhere in the video, but it was actually a book on how to hypnotize yourself with reading and also reading something out loud. A lot of times when we think of hypnosis, we think about getting into that calm meditative state where our conscious mind is out of the way, and then we let something either an audio or a person reprogram our mind with some suggestions. Well, something that many people don't realize is that the act of reading something, or even the act of watching a movie, all of these situations are actually priming our mind, and it's priming and hypnotizing us. In fact, I would make the argument that we're being hypnotized every single day, whether we like it or not. But my point here is that when you prompt ChatGPT with this end result that you want to, get clear on, not only can it serve as a form of clarity to help you clarify more of what it is that you want, but it can also be a great tool to actually read the, the scene or the details of what you want in this end result of your manifestation to prime your brain to get used to and comfortable and familiar with this end result. So in a way, it's doing two things at once. It's not only clarifying your end result, but it's also helping you saturate your mind with the state of the wish fulfilled. In other words, reading something is actually a way of activating your imagination. And as a bonus tip with this as well, a way that you can start to supercharge the state of the wish fulfilled as you're reading or considering this end result that ChatGPT is giving you, the way you can start to supercharge it is as you're reading it, start to consider what it would actually be like to physically have it in your physical reality. Do this with your eyes open. I actually do a lot of visualizing with my eyes open because it helps me ground this idea or the experience in my physical reality. I'm not in my head about trying to imagine the state of the wish fulfilled. I actually like to think with my eyes open with wherever I am in that present moment, and I like to consider what would it actually be like to have this thing, especially if I feel like this thing is far out there or random or I have no idea how it's going to come to me. When I start actively considering what it would be like to have what's in my mind in my physical world, that's when I start to ground the experience or the consideration or my imagination in my physical reality. So in other words, you can start to supercharge whatever's being held in your imagination by considering it and what it would be like to actually physically experience it in your physical reality as you're reading it on ChatGPT or the AI service that you're using, maybe Claude or whatever. So that's the first way that you can start using AI to help you start to manifest what it is that you want in your physical reality. Prompt it to start explaining and clarifying the reality that you actually want to go for. The second way that you can start using AI to manifest what it is that you want is actually one of my favorite uses of AI / ChatGPT, but I like to use AI to convince me of my manifestations that I don't really feel like coming up with a possibility trail for. So in other words, what you can do is you can put in the ChatGPT, hey, I want to manifest this this thing, whatever it is, an appearance change, my SP bag, out of no contact, a text message, an impossible manifestation, more money, I want to be like a wealthy person, whatever it is that you want. I want to manifest said thing. But after writing that, what you would do is then ask ChatGPT to convince you or find a rationale, like an actual rationale that convinces you that this reality is not only possible for you, but also highly probable for you. And you'd be surprised what ChatGPT can come up with, especially when it starts to get to know you. Like at this point, my ChatGPT knows me pretty well. I'll even ask it to like sometimes predict where I'm at with certain things. I don't take that at face value, but I do find it very interesting at like what it thinks like is going to happen for me like in the future. Okay, warning with that one, don't take ChatGPT's responses or predictions as completely serious. I personally don't believe in like predetermined events, but like I said, I do find it very interesting just to see with where it is in like gauging what it thinks I'm capable of and when it thinks I'm actually going to experience something versus not experience something. But this is totally besides the point. With the second way that you can start using AI or ChatGPT to manifest what it is that you want, the idea is to prompt it to convince you of not only the possibility of your manifestation, but also the probability of the manifestation. And it will find information like that you didn't even like hear of before, or just like information that just kind of makes sense to you, and it will put it together in a way that makes it seem almost obvious that you can not only have your manifestation, but it's probable for you to have your manifestation as well. It actually, the way that I like to think of this way of using AI is actually, it's creating basically a possibility trail for you. So as you guys know, I have a 4-step system for how I manifest things, and the way that I see it is they're like knobs in my system. The second knob is belief knob, where you're turning your knob from my manifestation is impossible for me to my manifestation is possible for me. And the way that you can consciously and actively do this is by using your own unique rationale to convince you of your manifestation. But like I said, this use of AI is by far one of my favorite, because sometimes I don't feel like, you know, brainstorming this new rationale of like, you know, why I can have my manifestation. Sometimes I just want it to be like hand fed to me. And that's exactly what ChatGPT will do when you prompt it to do it that way. So definitely try that out if you are having trouble believing in your manifestation, or if you feel like you're not fully on board with the possibility or probability that your manifestation can happen for you. The third thing that you can start doing with AI and ChatGPT is you can actually prompt it to help you find ways to detach from the outcome or detach from your manifestation. As we know, part of this manifesting equation is detachment, and the only reason why we want to detach is because attachment indicates lack of our manifestation. If we're attached to our manifestation, we're essentially saying in our inner world we do not have our manifestation. And as we know, reality is a projection of our inner world. So the idea is to get to a detached state, or as I like to call it, a higher level of security with your manifestation by finding something that gives your linear mind a higher level of security. Usually for me, it's just being in my God state, but I've noticed that it can also be from a variety of different ways. Sometimes it can just come from knowing that I'm going to actually survive my current frame of reality, how it is, even though I still don't have my manifestation. Sometimes it's a little bit more complex. Like I've noticed that my possibility trails can actually help me detach depending on the manifestation and depending on the possibility trails. There's a lot of different ways that you can detach. I've already created a bunch of videos on detachment, but something that can really help you when it comes to learning how to detach from the outcome is actually using AI to your advantage. So the way that I personally do this is I will write my manifestation, like I'll tell ChatGPT, hey, this is what I'm manifesting, and I know that I can have it, but for some reason I'm feeling attached to the outcome. Can you help me detach from the outcome? And then ChatGPT will usually do a really good job at like giving you actionable steps or actionable like ways that you can start practicing detachment from that specific manifestation. And you'll notice that it differs sometimes depending on the manifestation and depending on what you tell it is your current level of resistance or why you feel like attached to it. Like for example, sometimes I get kind of like real with it. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of scared that this alternate like possibility is going to happen, and that's why I'm attached to this outcome or to this manifestation. Can you help me find a higher level of security for this so that I can detach from the outcome? And then ChatGPT will give me that response. But like I said, this third step is awesome, especially if you are someone who finds it hard to detach from the outcome, or if you're like me and you have this like kind of, I don't want to say like control issue with manifesting, but sometimes you just like, you want your manifestation and you struggle to let go of the outcome for whatever reason at all. Use ChatGPT to your advantage. Ask it to help you find a way to detach from the outcome so that you can actually start to see reflection of what it is that you want in your physical reality. So that's the third way you can start using AI to your advantage or to help you manifest what it is that you want. The last way is actually something that I have mentioned briefly in one of my other videos, more specifically my subliminal and hypnosis video on like how to know whether or not the subliminal or hypnosis is actually working for you or not. But this is another way that I love to use AI, and I not only use ChatGPT for this one, but I also use 11 Labs as well, which is an AI voiceover. But this fourth way that you can start using AI to help you manifest what it is that you want is you can actually create your own hypnosis and or subliminals or meditations, even like guided meditations with AI. So the way that I do this is I first tell ChatGPT my situation. Like let's say that I want a physical appearance change, or let's say that I want to like lose weight or something like that. I will type into ChatGPT, hey, this is my end goal. I want to actually lose weight. I want to lose weight in this way. I don't want to count calories. I don't want to work out. And actually, for the record, I did not actually put this into ChatGPT. I'm just giving it like examples right now of like what this could look like. I know there's a lot of people out there who like want to lose weight without counting calories, or like, you know, working out or doing things the traditional way. This is how to do it if you want to actually create a hypnosis to brainwash yourself basically for this kind of manifestation. You essentially put in what the specifics are that you want for this hypnosis, like all the details that you want. In this case, if you want to manifest weight loss, tell ChatGPT like how you want to eat, how you want to like sleep, how you want to like work out, if at all. Tell it all those little details of how you want to basically live your life as this new version of you. And if you have any like limiting beliefs or blocks that you're aware of, but you for whatever reason don't feel like you can actually overcome, you can also put that in there as well. Like ask ChatGPT to help you rewire those limiting beliefs or those blocks. But you basically put in all the specifics for the hypnosis or the guided meditation, and you ask ChatGPT to come up with a script for you. And ChatGPT does a fantastic job of this. I've never had it like not be exactly what I wanted it to be. The more specific you prompt it, the more specific the responses you will get back from it. But essentially, after ChatGPT gives you the script of your hypnosis or your guided meditation, what you can then do is go to 11 Labs, and I believe you need the paid version of 11 Labs in order to do this. Don't quote me on it, but I think you may need it. But essentially what you can do is you can actually clone your voice in 11 Labs. But essentially what you can do after you've cloned your voice is you can submit that prompt that ChatGPT gave you into 11 Labs and have 11 Labs record or read that prompt in your own cloned voice. So for me personally, I have actually a bunch of hypnosises and like guided meditations on my phone that I downloaded from doing this. And I like to listen to them like when I'm in the car, or if I'm like walking my dogs, or, you know, if I'm ever in like a passive activity and I feel like I just want to, you know, listen to programming that makes me feel like I'm in my end result without having to consciously activate my imagination by myself. AI is by far one of my favorite tools to actually create my own like self-programming for the very specific things that I want to manifest and experience in my physical reality. So definitely try this out. And as a quick like side note to this way of using AI as well, you can also use ChatGPT for creating subliminals, although it requires a little bit more work than just what I mentioned there. The only reason why is because subliminals you have to use like Audacity and like change the tempo and like make it below hearing levels, and then you have to like find the right frequency. It's a little bit more there's more steps involved. It's not that you can't do it. I've done it once, but I was kind of like over it after that first time of like making a subliminal. I'm like, you know what, I like my hypnoses. I like to be present when I'm like listening to my hypnoses and, you know, listening to this programming rather than have like static or like the frequency in the background with all those like weird sounds of what the subliminal underneath the frequencies are. So this is just a personal preference, but you can use it to create a subliminal as well. It just requires a few more steps. And you can also use it to like brainstorm affirmations for you as well, especially if you're someone who is into robotic affirming. You can use ChatGPT to come up with affirmations for you to repeat over and over, or in like the robotic manner. And then what you can do is you can take those affirmations and you can either like practice saying them yourself, or you can put them into 11 Labs with your cloned voice and create a recording of them and just have that recording go on repeat. There's also other apps that you can use as well that aren't necessarily AI, where you actually like just record your voice, like record you saying the affirmation and then have it put on repeat. Like I think there's like an app called like Parrot. I don't actually remember, but there's a bunch of apps in like the Play Store and everything like that that you can use to speak your affirmation into a recording and have it play on repeat. But essentially with this fourth way of using AI, the idea is that you're actually creating programming that you're consuming on a consistent basis. You can create hypnoses, you can create subliminals, you can create affirmation tapes. The list goes on. And like I said, these 4 ways, which actually have turned almost into like 6 ways, I think, that I kind of mentioned. 4 turned into like 6, but these ways that you can use AI, like I said, are not the complete list. In fact, I may make another video on like other ways that you can use AI to manifest what it is that you want, but for me, these are by far like my top 4 ways that I like to personally use AI, at least in this given moment of my life. So definitely try these out if you are interested. Also, let me know in the comments below if you've used AI in other ways and like how that worked out for you. I'm obsessed with it. I love AI. AI has made my life so much easier and like cheaper even, we could say, even though subscriptions are like, I have paid versions of all the AI stuff, but even then I'm like, the convenience of AI is just like my favorite thing. So I'm a big fan of AI, and this is one of the many ways that I use it in my own personal life. I use it for manifesting. So definitely let me know like if you guys use AI in a different way for like manifesting, or even like, I don't know, in your everyday life as well. I'm always curious to learn different ways I can use AI, but definitely let me know what you think about this video in the comments below as well. If you're interested in me creating another video on other ways that you can use AI to help manifest your desires, again, definitely let me know in the comments below as well. But with all that being said, I'm going to end the video here. Keep creating, everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.